Real estate as a sector, as we all know, has come a long way from being highly unorganized to its current state, where it is a significant contribution to India's GDP, to being the second largest employer after agriculture, and being a front runner on attracting FDI into the country. The sector has a large potential. In fact, it has grown exponentially over the last decade or so, and with growth comes the challenges. And when we talk about challenges, I think challenges on the tax and regulatory front assume significance. We'll all agree to that. If I were to ask a common man his take on efficiency or inefficiency in real estate, I think the obvious answer would be inefficiency always pays. You just buy a property, forget about it, let it be there for 10 years. It'll only grow. But when we talk about tax inefficiency in real estate, I think it never pays off. And that's really the context of our presentation. So in the next 15 minutes or so, we'll be taking you through the key tax and regulatory provisions under the current as well as the proposed regime, which impact the sector, and the challenges which are being faced by the real estate sector, more on the taxation front. When we talk about FDI, we talk about plain vanilla equity as well as convertible instruments. As Sandeep mentioned in his presentation, a lot of foreign investment which has come into the country in the real estate sector has come in the form of convertible preference shares or convertible debentures, which also is treated as par with FDI. However, a pure debt, which is an external commercial borrowing, is not permitted in the sector except for integrated townships and industrial parks because they're more infrastructure in nature. Moving on to the tax provision. On the tax side, I think really there are two broad areas how a real estate developer P&L would look like. One is a build to sell project, where any profits which are arising from a sale of a real estate project are accounted for as profit and gains from business and profession. Whatever revenue expenditure you incur, you get a deduction for it, and a depreciation on the capital expenditure. Here we take a cue from the accounting side of things because whatever percentage of completion or completed contract method which the accounting team follows or which the auditors of the company follow, tax tries to follow that at most times. Now, in the backdrop of the key tax and regulatory provisions that we discussed, here we would like to briefly touch upon what are the key challenges that are being faced by the sector. On the regulatory front, which is primarily FDI, compliance with Press Note 2 on different aspects, for instance, whether the minimum capitalization should be at entity level or should be for each project. Also, what is logged in is the entire investment for a period of 3 years. There are certain requirements in terms of completing the project, completing 50% of the project within 5 years. So the moot question here is, what if a project has crossed the 3-year threshold but has not yet achieved the 50% completion and the 5 years threshold is yet to cross? Would a prior approval from the government be required, or can it be done under automatic route? What are the kind of valuation norms that one would look at in such a situation? Because the developer group would agree that when it comes to giving exit to the foreign investor, RBI does have a cap on the price that you can pay to the foreign investor. There is a valuation norm based on the discounted cash flow method which one needs to follow. So adherence to valuation norms and at the same time abiding with the foreign exchange regulations and compliance with the Press Note 2 sometimes become a challenge, and practically we're seeing a lot of those exits now. The investments which were made in the 2005-2006 scenario, there are exits happening now, and this is certainly one set of challenge which foreign investors are facing.